Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Umar Sidik, and my group will present it for this meeting. So I will present it about meeting 7, meaning and relation. So please make your attention for my presentation and check it out. And in meeting 7, there are many different semantic theories. Each one defines the notion of meaning differently and uses different means. For the representation of meanings, some formal, some informal, and almost all of them, however, share a basic strategy of explaining the semantic data. A strategy that ties in with our intuitive notion of meaning. They assume that the meaning of most words are complex, composed of more general components. The meaning of a lexical item is analyzed by identifying its component and the way in which they are combined. In a sense, the process of semantic analysis is the converse of the process of composition, by which we determine the meaning of complex expression on the basis of its components and its structure. Therefore, analysis into meaning component is called decomposition. It's called decomposition. A decompositional theory allows the pursuit of the following objectives. A decompositional theory aim for meaning providing models for words meaning. What kind of entities are lexical meanings? What is their structure? How are meaning to be represented? And B for basic meanings. Basic meanings reducing the vast variety of lexical meanings to a limited number of basic meanings. Are there lexical items which are semantically basic? How can the meaning of non-basic items be built up from more basic ones? And P for precision. Precision providing a means of representation that allows a precise interpretation of lexical items. Next is R meanings for relations. Relation explaining meaning relations within and across lexical fields. And there is C for composition. Composition explaining the compositional properties of lexical items, with which kinds of expressions can the item be combined. How does its meaning interact with the meaning of the expressions it is combined with? Ambitious decompositional semantic theory would further strive to develop an analytical apparatus that can be used for different language. And L for language comparison, determining the semantic relation between expressions of different languages. Are there expressions with the same meaning in other languages? If not, how are the meanings of similar expressions related to each other? And there are pairs of formal and informal terms with the same descriptive meanings. If the relative is treated as superior, the formal terms onisan and ototosan are used. Obviously, none of the four Japanese terms is equivalent to the English word brother. They all relate to brother, like hyponyms. Now you can see the picture. There is the example of meaning components of English and Japanese term for brother, and 4 different approaches to decomposition will be introduced. Each of them adopts a different conceptions of meaning with its own merits and shortcomings. And the first one to be introduced is the structuralist approach, now almost a century old, which has exerted an enormous influence on the development of modern linguistics and will therefore be treated in greater detail and without restrictions to semantics. A language as a system of signs. The one who is generally credited with the approach known as structuralism is the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, 1857 until 1913. To Saussure, a language is an abstract, complex system of relations and rules that underlies all regularities to be observed in actual language use. A sign or a word consists of 2 parts. One part is sound form and the other part is the meaning. The language system is a very complex structure formed by units at different levels: single sounds, syllables, word, syntactic, precise, sentences. Each unit is related to the smaller units it consists of, and to the large units it is a part of, and also to all sorts of other units which are similar in some respects or others. A sign constitutes as a sign only as a part of a system, only insofar as it is related to and different from the other sign of the language. Let me illustrate these abstract considerations with a concrete example. The French word route, standard pronunciation r. One means red. Its sound form is a string of 3 sounds units phonemes r, u, and g, for which there are certain conventions of articulation. Saussure argues a sound unit of the system is not primarily defined by its articulation or acoustic quality, but by its relation to the other sound units. This notion of meaning is not commonly accepted, while it has been adopted by some semanticists. In Cruz, 1986, alternative theories have been developed, in particular cognitive semantics. According to this theory, meanings are considered integral parts not of a system of linguistic meanings but of our overall cognitive system, which can be studied by the methods of cognitive psychology. In terms of the semantic triangle, structuralism focuses exclusively on the left side of the schema. You can see the in the figure 7.1, semantic is not a matter of reference and denotation. Rather, it concerns the signs. Example, a pair of form and meaning, and how it is related to other signs. Okay, next is syntagmatic and paradigmatic relations. All linguistic units, sounds, syllables, words, phrases, sentences, can be combined into more complex units. In the original terminology of structuralism, such a complex is called a syntagm. A syllable is a syntagm of phonemes. A word taken as a sound unit is syntagm of syllables. As a semantic unit, a word may be a syntagm of morphemes. For each kind of syntagm, there are specific formation rules, and within each syntagm, the constituents are related to each other in specific ways. The general term for the relations within a syntagm is syntagmatic relation. The syntagmatic relation that a given unit bears to other constituents are determined by its combinatorial properties. And let us consider the syllable set as an example figure 7.2. The syllable is a syntagm of three morphemes, s, and t. They occupy the three basic positions of a syllable, commonly called onset, nucleus, and coda. The syntagmatic relations are first of all those of order. The onset precedes of nucleus, and the nucleus precedes the coda. In addition, nucleus and coda form a unit within the syllable, the called rhyme. Therefore, the relation that holds between nucleus and coda is closer than and different from the relation between nucleus and onset. The units within a paradigm exhibit relations of difference and similarity. These are called paradigmatic relation. For example, the opposition voice versus voiceless distinguishes p and p. Within the onset paradigm, the in table 7.2 displays the basic structuralism, concept. They allow the definition of basic notions such as syntactic category, a paradigm of syntactic units, word class or grammatical category, a paradigm of lexical units, or lexeme. Lexeme is a unit with certain paradigmatic and syntagmatic properties. Okay, thank you guys. And for the next presentation will be presented by Ade Rusdianto.
Okay, thank you, Umar. And then 7.2 applying the structuralist approach to meaning, and 7.2.1 semantic units, morphemes and lexemes. When applying the approach to meaning, one has to determine what the semantic units of a language are and describe them in terms of their combinatorial and contrastive properties. Words may share meaningful parts with other lexemes. Therefore, word or lexemes are not the smallest semantics unit of a language. Consider, for example, A. Meaningful, beautiful, harmful, and etc. B. Ugliness, cleverness, baldness, usefulness, and etc. C. Clearing, hearing, cleaning, thinking, meeting, and brainstorming. The meanings of these and many other words can be derived from the meaning of the first part and the meaning of the suffix ending full and ness. Structuralist concept, definition syntagmatic complex unit syntagmatics relation between the constituents of a syntagmatic combinatorial properties of a unit that determine its syntagmatic properties. Syntagmatic relations, how it can be combined with other unit paradigmatics, set of all elements that can fill a certain position in a syntagmatics. Paradigmatic relation between the elements of a paradigmatic, contrastive properties, distinctive properties of the element of a paradigmatic properties, paradigmatic table 7.2 basic structuralist concept ending in. Along with these examples where the meaning can be straightforwardly decomposed into the meaning of the suffix and the meaning of the first part. There are quite a number of lexemes that contain such a suffix without allowing for straightforward decomposition. For example, meaning doesn't mean a situation where somebody means something. Wilderness doesn't denote the property of being wilder, and lawful doesn't mean full of law. Minimal semantics units are called morphemes. Clean can be used as a word on its own. It therefore constitutes what is called a free morphemes. The suffix ending ing is a bound morpheme, as it can only occur as a part of a word. The bound morphemes in one serve the derivation of word from others. A second class of bound morphemes, the grammatical morphemes, is used to build the different grammatical forms of word. And then 7.2.2 paradigmatic and syntagmatic semantic relations. Word classes are essentially paradigmatic. Hence, meaning relations such as the oppositions, hyponymy, meronymy, and the more specific relations structuring certain lexical files are paradigmatic relations. For example, all terms for the days of the week can be inserted into the empty position of the syntagmatic today's. Within the resulting paradigmatic, we can assess the meaning relation between the terms. Syntagmatic meaning relation hold between the constituents of a syntagmatic. Let us consider two simple examples. Into a transitive verb is combined with a subject noun phrase and an object noun phrase to form a sentence. 1. Mary seized the bottle. The syntagmatic meaning relation that holds between the subject noun phrase and the verb is that of the noun phrase specifying the verb's agent. The object noun phrase is related to the verb as its time specification. And the red balloon. The combined red balloon describes the potential reference of the noun phrase as a red balloon. Both the adjective and the noun are one-place predicates of the potential reference. They constitute syntagmatic or combinatorial semantic properties of verbs, adjectives, and nouns, in addition to selectional restrictions which impose logical conditions on argument specifications. Lexeme may have combinatorial properties that restrict their usage further. For example, German has different system of terms for animals and people, where people eat or eat, animals freezens. Drinking of people is trinken, of animal softened. People have a mood or mouth, the animals a mole. Such distinction give rise to language-specific combinational meaning properties. And that's it. Thank you for attention. Goodbye.